Hey, what's going on, visionaries? Today, we're talking photography gear 2021. What's in my bag? Let's go. So welcome back, visionaries. Going over my channel and the videos that I've made over the past couple of years, I have realized that I have never made a what's in my camera bag video. You guys probably have no clue what I shoot with, and I think that it's important that at least I share it with you so you can understand why I shoot with the gear that I do, and maybe if you do similar events or similar jobs, you can think about getting this gear for yourself. So jumping right into it, let's talk weddings. Now for weddings, I typically only used to use one camera body, and that was the Canon 5D Mark IV. But now I've recently upgraded and I've gotten the Canon R6. So now I will be using both camera bodies. The Canon 5D Mark IV with the Canon R6. Also, I will be using 24-70 2.8, 70 to 200 2.8, and I also have a Sigma 50mm 1.4 for any kind of specialty shots, any shots that might be low light or require a little extra bokeh for that soft, dreamy look that a lot of brides like these days. That's where the 50mm 1.4 comes in. Also, for light, I typically use a Godox V862 speed light as the one that's on my camera, and then I also use TT600s or TT685s for my supporting lights during the reception that are going to be on flash stands. So those are all different types of gear that I use for my weddings, and it really helps out a lot getting the different kinds of shots that weddings typically require you get. Now my main camera during weddings is going to be the Canon R6 with the 24-70 2.8. This is also going to have the V862 TTL speed light on top of it, and this is going to be used as my workhorse camera. This is the camera that's going to be capturing details, venue shots, candids, reception shots, the shots that pretty much make up the bulk of the day. Now the Canon 5D Mark IV is going to typically have the 70 to 200 on it, and this is going to be for all those beautiful shots, the shots that the bride and the groom typically post first to their social media once they get their pictures back, the portraits, the newlywed portraits, the ceremony. Now I could easily switch up the different lenses that go from both camera bodies, but typically right now that's my setup and is working out pretty well. Now, to hold it all together, I have a photography belt that I typically use, and that's gonna have a lens holder, and also I'm gonna have another pouch that's gonna have extra batteries, and it's gonna have a spider mount camera holster on there so I can just lock in right there if I need to. And it's also gonna have a utility knife, and the utility knife is typically just for general purposes. Got to cut a tag off a dress, got to snip a flower off of a tree, etc., etc. Now, I've also recently invested in a hold fast holster. Now, this is awesome. I recently used it on a wedding, and it was great being able to have both of my camera bodies right there on the side, being able to lift one up, boom, boom, lift the other one up, and take pictures on the fly. It was comfortable, it kept a lot of stress off my body, and I highly recommend that if you're a wedding photographer that you invest in at least a belt or a holster to hold your camera bodies. Walking around with a camera bag all day or a satchel can be very tiresome on your body, and it can make you look a little unorganized depending on how high quality of the wedding is that you're working. So moving on from weddings, we're gonna go straight into professional headshots, and I typically go with the same setup every time. So that's gonna be the 5D Mark IV due to its high resolution and megapixel count, allowing me to get the finest details and really offer that super high quality look that clients are looking for when they get a professional headshot. I'm also going to be using the 70 to 200 2.8 for this because just the amount of detail and compression that the lens offers is really nice for headshots. Sometimes I will bring out the 24-70 if my clients are requesting some non-traditional headshots, some full body shots, things like that. But typically the 70 to 200 gets it done. Now, for lighting, I also go with the Godox AD200 pocket strobe for my key light, and a Godox TT685 for my hair rim light. It's a 2-light setup, and I've also made a tutorial about how I take my headshots with this setup. So if you're interested, go ahead and click the card that's popping up on your screen right now. It's a little bit of an older tutorial, but I still use the same method and I get the same great results. So go ahead and check it out if you're interested in learning how to take some dope headshots. Now, for Instagram portraits or just client portraits, I pretty much use the same setup except for a couple different minor changes, all right? One, I'm gonna be switching out the Canon 5D Mark IV for the Canon R6. And that's mostly because the Canon R6 has an awesome autofocus for the eye locking, things like that. And for IG portrait sessions or even client portrait sessions, the model or the client's gonna be moving around a little bit more. They're not gonna be as static as with the headshots. So having fast autofocus, being able to lock onto that model or client's eye is key. Also, if I'm shooting for Instagram, I'm not gonna need such a high megapixel count because Instagram compresses all of your photos anyway. So I typically like to go with the R6 to save me weight, save me size, and to save me time. Another reason why I use the Canon R6 during my Instagram portraits instead of the 5D Mark IV is because it has a flip screen. If I wanna take a lot of creative angles, I can go ahead and flip that screen out and still get a perfectly aligned and composed shot. Instead of when I had the 5D Mark IV, it doesn't have a flip screen, and I would almost be breaking my neck trying to make sure that I could see what I was taking a picture of on the live view, but still also making sure that the shot was as composed as I wanted it to be. So having that extra screen that flips out is a huge benefit. Now for lenses, sometimes I do keep the 70-200, but most of the time I leave the 70-200 at home out of the bag, and I put the 50mm 1.4 Sigma in my bag and the 24-70 2.8 Canon. Now the 24-70 is a super versatile lens. It allows me to go from getting a waist up shot to a full body shot on the fly. And it also allows me to incorporate some of the background if we're shooting at a cool location. Now the 50mm 1.4 goes all the way down to 1.4, so when I really want to get a super, bokeh filled shot, I put that on. Also, since it's a prime lens, it's super sharp, and when I want to get up close and take some really tight portraits, the 50mm does an amazing job. So they both work really well, and they pretty much cover all the focal lengths that I'm going to be using. So having a 24-70 allows me to take a lot of versatile shots, and having that 50mm 1.4 allows me to really have a lot of bokeh shots and a lot of great shots that really show a good amount of detail. Now the last combination that I'm going to talk about is my walking around / vlogging setup. When I'm just out and about, it's a very minimal setup. I just might want to have something with me just in case something catches my eye. And that's going to be the Canon R6 with the 24-70, no flashes, no speed light. And then I'm also going to have an Osmo 2 mobile gimbal for my iPhone 12. Now the iPhone 12 Pro shoots 4K for 60 frames per second, which is pretty amazing for a cell phone. And I think the Max actually shoots 4K at 120 FPS. I could be wrong about that. But I do know that it's amazing when you put the internal stabilization of the iPhone 12, combine it with the gimbal to get those smooth, buttery B-roll shots. And then with the 24-70 on the Canon R6, no matter if it's street photography, architecture, abstract, no matter what it does, it's gonna go ahead and take an amazing picture. The 70-200 is a little bit too big and a little bit too heavy to be carrying around all day for a walk around lens, and the 50mm kind of restricts the focal length when I might need something wider or tighter that the 24-70 can offer me. So it's really simple. Canon R6, 24-70, Osmo 2 mobile gimbal, and the iPhone 12, and I'm good to go. So there you have it, guys. That is my what's in my camera bag for 2021 and the different combinations depending on what I'm shooting. If you have any questions or comments about anything that I talked about today, go ahead and leave it in the comment section below. I'll be sure to respond and converse with you guys about my gear, and I look forward to hearing from you. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe once again. And this is Jason Osborne. I'll see you guys in the next video. Talk to y'all later. Peace.